walk you through something that I updated in my store this morning. This is the Math Intervention Pacing and Assessment Supplement. It supplements any of the kindergarten through fourth grade intervention bundles. You'll see that it's free in the store, and it includes suggested pacing guides, some templates, data collection templates, and then other forms that might be useful to you to use as you're working your way through these units. So I want to let you know what I've updated and what's included in here. So you'll see when you start, there's a how to use this document, just kind of includes the different pieces you'll find. There's a standards progression here so that you can see for each grade level what different standards we touch on in the intervention units. And you'll notice that some grades, such as kindergarten and second grade, start with standards from the previous grade level. They're foundational to the work at those grade levels, and so those units help prepare your students for the work that they will touch in that grade level. Kindergarten is a little bit different because the kindergarten units constantly spiral. Tons of focus on counting and cardinality, building strong number sense in your students. So the kindergarten alignment looks a little different because each unit is not aligned to a specific standard. Something else I've been asked for recently is TEKS standards alignment. So I have added alignment documents for first through fourth grade, showing the Common Core standards and then the related Texas state standards. Pacing guides. Now there's a note here that explains how you can use these units and how the pacing might look in your classroom or for your grade level. So for kindergarten, they're a little bit more straightforward. They're 10-day units and giving yourself time. I mean, you're not going to meet with your students every single day, most likely. Time for reteaching and centers and additional practice. I would recommend about a month per unit. And then if that doesn't work for you, there's also an adjusted pacing guide where you can write in your own planning. And then for each of the other grade levels, there's a variety of numbers of weeks that I would suggest you spend on a unit, but also there's always that adjusted pacing guide so that you can switch the units around based on what you're teaching in Tier 1 and when you might be teaching those units. After that, this is something that was always really useful to me, is to be able to see my students' data across the year at a glance. Now, the suggestions about how you could color the data in, it's just that, it's a suggestion, but sometimes it's nice to see if your student's moving from not meeting standards, and then later in the year, more often they're approaching standards, and then later, more often in the year, they're meeting standards. It's nice to see that growth across. So kindergarten, again, is a little bit different because the assessments look different in kindergarten because they're 5 and you're constantly spiraling these skills. In each of the other grade levels, it's a little bit more straightforward because each unit is targeting one specific skill or standard. And for each unit, you have a pre-test, a post-test, and then those 4 exit tickets. So this is a much more concise form that you'll have for first through fourth grade, where you can see your units at a glance. And I'm seeing that I need to add fourth grade, so I'll go ahead and do that for you. And then this is the student meeting data form. So when you're going to a student data meeting, whether it's an IEP meeting or a student support team meeting, whatever it might be, this form allows you to show that student's growth across a variety of units. So perhaps you have a third grader, but you were using first grade units to support that learner. This student data meeting, I mean, it could even follow a student across multiple grade levels, and you can show their growth over time on that form. This form here, a meeting graph, if you have any sort of assessments that you're doing, like a fluency assessment, and you just want to show growth over time, this is a form you could use for that. This doesn't necessarily match anything in the intervention units that I've put in there. If you have my free fact fluency guide, this form could be useful for that, but it's just something I used when I was teaching. I always had kind of that graph going, showing growth over time, and so I included it. And then last, this is only included for first through third grade at this point, but I will add it an update for kindergarten and fourth grade as well. This is student progress update forms. This could be useful if you're an interventionist working with a classroom teacher. You can send this form to the classroom teacher and saying, this is what we worked on in this unit. This is kind of the strategies that we used. And then here's some assessment data on how the students did working towards those skills. If you're a classroom teacher and you want to communicate with parents, this is also a form that could be really useful to you. And then that closes out the rest of this document. So, like I said, it's been updated. It used to only include first through third grade. Now, kindergarten and fourth grade are included for many of those pieces. The Texas standards are a new piece on there. And I hope this is really helpful to you. And as always, if you have suggestions or anything else that might be useful to you, please let me know. I'm happy to add to this document.